Hello, hello. All right, today we are going to talk about less stress with calories. So, in the Half Size Me community, in the month of May, this was 2023, we did the very first maintenance break challenge. And I was really intrigued to see the same thing coming up, not just for people taking a maintenance break, but also our long-term maintainers who decided to join to kind of help themselves refocus or to kind of feel supported in what they're working on. And the issue that kept coming up was an over concern with daily calorie amounts. Like somebody might have planned to eat 1900 calories one day and they ended up overeating and it was like 2500. And there was some people, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about pulling out of the challenge because, I'm overeating on some days and I'm obviously not getting this right. And it got me to realize that people might see calories through the wrong lens. And it would be helpful if I were to just take a minute and just remind you how this process works. And this also makes sense from a different perspective. It's kind of like when you start a diet, you might eat it 1600, 1500, whatever the calorie amount is, for a few days, and your scale doesn't automatically change and go down. It can take 5 to 7 days before you start to see any real slight trend down in scale weight, right? On the flip side, you could overeat. Maybe have a day where you eat a lot of calories and your body doesn't automatically change either. And sometimes if it does, it's water weight. We've talked about that before here on this channel. But what we want to think about when I talk to somebody about calories, I always look at monthly averages over the time versus what happens with body weight. This is for being in a deficit or maintenance. For example, say somebody loses weight eating 16 to 1800 calories, right? If they average out 4 weeks and their average is 1751, and then they see that they've lost an average of 3 pounds, using that, one, we can kind of start to figure out their maintenance calories, and two, we can confirm that they are in a deficit and roughly how much of a deficit they're in. But that's with the monthly average. What monthly averages look like is there might be a 2500 calorie day, and then there might be a 1400 calorie day. And the days are going to vary. Like nobody eats a consistent number of calories every day. But what I really want you to do is I call it like stepping back from the tree. Like you're in the forest, you can't see you're in the forest because your face is up against the tree. So in this scenario, right, you need to look at your calories big term. And actually what was really cool, we did have a long-term maintainer who said something really interesting. She says, I have really been struggling with maintenance. She goes, and I get why. She says, I knew my maintenance calories were like 1850 or whatever. She goes, I make a point to try to eat that every day, but then I have days I eat over. I have vacation days. I have these times where my calories aren't at 1850. And she goes, through this 30-day challenge, what I've realized is I was supposed to be kind of altering my daily calories to adjust for those times I went over, right? So this idea that she was in her mind, and this is a very common thing for maintainers, by the way, they get their maintenance calories, 2000, whatever, and they make a effort to eat at that every day. But then they have a week of vacation or they have weekends where they overeat, right? And instead of compensating on the other days and dropping below 2000, they just say, oh, that's my maintenance calories. No. You need to average calories over a month, okay? So I always say, are you focusing on your calories for the day, for the week, the month, the year? Like you have to kind of think about this in a generally better, different way. The daily calories are fine, but they're kind of meaningless in the grand scheme of things. Like one high day or one low day isn't worth getting all bunched up over. It's kind of like when I average 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and I see where my average calories are falling. And it was so funny too, because a lot of people realized how insignificant one high day was. So this one girl was really concerned because her calories were high one day. She averaged it in with the other 6 days and she's like, oh, I'm only 65 calories over my target. When you average it in, it deflates it. It's just like when you're in school and you fail one test, right? If you took 10 tests and you failed one, it's not the end of the day, right? You're still probably passing the class. You might even have a B or low A, depending on how you did on the other tests, right? It's the exact same philosophy. So, but your lower brain is going to have a lot to say about it. It's going to talk about how this is what you're supposed to eat. This is what you're supposed to do. You just screwed up. Now what are you going to do to fix it? And I am telling you, change your perspective. Say, okay, if for the month of June, I want to average 2,000 calories, what does that look like? What's going on the weekends? Do I have any trips planned? If I know that I have trips planned, figure 2,500 calories a day or 3,000 calories a day. What does that leave me for the rest of the month, depending on where you're going and what you're doing? Like, really sit down and think it through, and you can be in a much better place with your overall calories. Again, whether you're trying to lose weight or maintain weight, the same thing applies. It's average calories over time and what happens with your average weight. That's how you know if you're heading in the right direction. Not the exact number you eat today. It's not like tomorrow you're going to be screwed because you had way more or way less. On the flip side, I had a client, she got freaked out. She ate like one day, she wasn't very hungry. She only ate like 1,000 calories. And she's like, oh, so my brain told me I needed to eat. This wasn't okay. And I said, why is it not okay? She's like, well, it's so low. And I said, yeah, but you weren't hungry. And she goes, yeah. I said, did you average it into the week? Well, no, I didn't do that. When we averaged into the week, it was totally fine because she had some days that were higher days. See, we get really mired in the day-to-day number, but what I would encourage you to do, average it into the 7 days, average it into the month. How does it look through that lens? And know that you're going to have some variation. That's just part of the process. Your body is not a machine. It doesn't need 2,000 calories every day to maintain your weight. It needs what it needs. And some days you'll be hungrier, some days you won't. But if the overall average is working out, that's where I want you to focus your attention. So I hope this video releases a little bit of stress, because if you're so mired in just the day-to-day number, you lose sight of the big picture. Like my client that ate really low one day, that day actually could have helped her because she had some really high days the previous weekend. But in that moment, she felt scared about it. Just like I have other people who feel scared when they go higher and they don't average it in. And if they had just realized, oh, I had some lower days earlier this week, it balanced out okay. It's not a big deal, right? So I hope this video helps you guys. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.